Well, Coach, what made the difference for you guys this week? How did it all come together for you?
Well, I think a big part of it was we went ahead and we set out with a goal on the start of about a 15-day road trip for these kids. We went out and we pushed ourselves, when we got started. We pushed ourselves to be focused mentally, we focused to be able to be focused physically, and to make sure that we acted and played above our years. We knew that we were going to make young mistakes. I mean, that was just going to happen. When you're 14 years old, you're just going to make mistakes. But what we wanted to do was how we were going to respond. How we were going to respond to that was going to be a big deal. And, these kids responded every time. Whether you got down one, whether you were up 5 and you got flat, they carry each other, based off of the bond that they formed over 15 days. I mean, you can take a bunch of kids from all over the country, and if you go your separate ways after every game and you don't get involved with each other and you don't try to be good teammates, you're gonna fail. When you need each other the most, you're not gonna have each other's backs. And I think that was a huge difference. These kids, not only did they practice together and play together, but they ended up getting together off the field and becoming good friends on this trip. And they had each other's back when they needed it the most, and that's why we're national champions.
During this game, was there a point where you could sense it, or was there a point at any point during the week where you could sense that this team was going to be able to do this?
So we had a game against a team called the PA Playmakers, and we were down 2-0, and the kid was dealing. Every time he'd strike a guy out, he'd fist pump, look at the dugout. And I remember, Cole Messina, said something, and I think it's Cole because Cole's talked a lot on this trip. He said something like, he's not going to fist pump at us this entire game. Let's give him something to, be quiet about. And we got 3 runs. We got a big double from Jake Neff, right, which Jake has came up with timely hitting all tournament. It's been hard to keep him out of lineup. I've been rotating him in. We got a big double from Jake. We got tied. We ended up going up 1. And the kid was running on fumes, and Nate Fink hit a 2-run bomb. And that was the turning part. That was like, okay, that was the first time that they really responded. They got punched in the mouth, kid was rolling, and they went ahead and they just hit back. And then after that, it was every time they got down 1, they responded with 2. Every time they got down, 2, they responded with 3 or 4. Every time we needed a big punch out, somebody was there. Whether it was, Danny in the championship game, or whether or not it was Matt Mateus, spinning a gem, in the quarterfinal game so we could save arms to get to the Tigers. And that was a big deal. The kids just kind of stepped up and wanted the ball, when the ball was there. They wanted to hit when it was hit. There was a fight for the bat rack. And at the end of the day, I thought it was kind of fitting that we walked off, in an 8-run slaughter rule, because these kids have just absolutely grinded it out all week.
Baseball, you've been a part of a lot of championships. What's going to make this one stand out in your mind 3, 4, 5 years down the road?
Personally, I've been a part of 3 national title games, and I've come out on the losing end each time. And the toughest part was watching kids just be absolutely devastated by it. I've watched guys, like whether it's J.B. Bukowskis, who's pitching in the Astros organization, or Anthony Siegler and Nick Northcutt, Xavier Edwards. I've watched these guys, Joe Adels, guys that are going to play the game of baseball for a lot of money for a long time, and they were just devastated. And it didn't hurt me that I didn't pull it out, for myself. It hurt me that those kids' last impression of that tournament was that they lost and that they failed. When they didn't fail, they just weren't the better team that day. And for these kids, at 14 years old, to be able to, first time to say, hey, we worked really hard. We did everything that we needed to do. And now to see the excitement on their face as they know they're going to get fitted for rings, and they know that they're national champions, and it's going to go on the website, and everybody's going to be gunning for them in 4 weeks at the World Series. That's why I do this. I don't do it for the rings on the desk. I don't do it for, the interviews and stuff like that. I do it because those kids, this is a memory that they'll have for the rest of their lives. They're going to be talking about, they'll text each other when they're 18, 19, 20 years old, when they're at South Carolina or they're at Clemson, and they'll be like, hey man, you remember when we were on the same field and we won that national championship? That was fun. And that's a big deal. And I think that's why this game of baseball is so beautiful, because you can unite all these different personalities from all over the country and come together for one thing, and realize that at the end of the day, when you're working with kids that are as good of people and as good of players as they are, that's the payoff when they're happy.